So this oatmeal
goes against everything that I ever thought oatmeal could be. All right, guys, it is not Chef from Highly Favored Chef and Chef, and today I have been challenged to do savory oatmeal. Now, first step is I am toasting the oatmeal just to make sure that we don't get any mushiness. And what you see me doing here is pouring in the broth. I'm going to bring this to the boil and add back the toasted oatmeal that you saw me making sure I toast it before, making sure that we are developing these savory flavors from the beginning. So what I wanted to do in order to help enhance the fact that this oatmeal is not going to be sweet, I still can't believe that that this is a thing. I am going to mix in a little bit of shredded white cheddar. And what this is going to do is this is going to help bolden the flavor and reinforce the idea that it is not supposed to be sweet. What you see me doing right now is caramelizing the onions, and this is going to add back a little bit of sweetness, but in more of a savory way. I don't even know if that makes sense. I'm not chef here. So yeah, go ahead, caramelize those things, keep going until they look like this. So I'm gonna mix that in, and this is also gonna be part of the base of the oatmeal. And even though I toasted the oatmeal earlier to make sure that we didn't have a lot of mushiness, I still want to make sure that I add some more crunchiness back on top after we have all this mixed in, because the cheese and the caramelized onions are not really adding a whole lot of crunch back to it. So here I have some sweet bell peppers. I marinated those for a little bit in some hot chili oil just to give it a little bit of heat, just for depth to the dish. So as you see, I'm adding those there. I just got a little bit of char there. I put it in the skillet on really, really high heat just so I can get that char, and pulled it out immediately. So it didn't really take away the crunch. So crunch being added back. Here's a little bit of radish. I spoke with Chef Tyra after recording this video, and she asked me if I pickled them. In hindsight, I definitely wish I pickled them, but overall, it still added a really nice crunch and like a bright flavor profile that came with the oatmeal. So I'm pretty pleased with how it came up. And right now, I'm just kind of sort of making sure everything in this oatmeal looks pretty. What I'm doing now is adding avocado. I mean, I love avocado. A lot of people love avocado. I mean, I don't really know how you can go wrong. So, you know, just add a little avocado in there. I mean, if you want it, you can. If not, you know, no harm. So yeah, still trying to get it all pretty. What's coming next may not be as pretty as what you see right now. I probably should have stopped right here. But I wanted to attempt to do one of those fried crispy eggs with a runny yolk. You know, the ones with the like little crispy edge around the outside. And that is what you're going to see coming up next. Now, if you're looking for a really perfect and super runny yolk, this is not the egg for you, simply because I don't like my egg that runny. So I cooked it a little bit harder. So there's a little bit of run, but not the picturesque one that you're probably expecting. And that's the fun thing. That's the beauty about cooking is that you can tailor it to the way you like it when you're at home and being a home chef. So I feel like that's one thing that I'm able to offer. I'm sure that when you see Chef Tyra hers is going to be more technically sound. But yeah, I should have put the radishes on top of the egg. So that is what I'm doing right now. You know, just working on a lot of plating techniques and whatnot. And I'm going to add just a little bit of pepper. I would say get freshly cracked pepper, you know, the fresh cracked black pepper. But we are in the middle of a quarantine and a lot of things I just cannot find. So just use what is in your house. And I'm going to add a little bit of sriracha because I like sriracha. And at this point, it is no longer pretty, but it is homey. And it's something that I would be more apt to eat and make at home and really cozy. So I'm really proud of the way this turned out. Yeah, so here we go. This is the yolk. And like I said, it's not as runny as a lot of you would expect or look for, but it's what I like. So yeah, there goes my savory oatmeal.
My ingredients today, I have some chicken stock. I have some leftover bolo that we made the other day. So this is a good way to repurpose just leftover items in your refrigerator because we are all at this time, just struggling to get to stores and finding what we need. Here I was having a little trouble turning on the stovetop because, it's kind of like trying to plug in a USB. You never plug it in right the first time. I never grab the correct knob for the front burner, ever. Here I am putting in some shavings of butter. I get butter in 2-pound blocks, so it's a lot easier and more convenient to shave off pieces with a peeler rather than trying to take off hunks from a 2-pound block of butter. Makes it a lot easier. This is also a good way to spread cold butter on your toast. So if you haven't noticed, if you take a look in that pan, you can see there are some clear spots, which is the water in the butter. There are the yellow spots and the white spots. So it's all separating at this time, which is a great tip if you're trying to clarify butter. You would melt it down and let it re-solidify. And I'm just going to add my old-fashioned oats. I did not buy the instant oats. These are the old-fashioned ones that you have to cook for a little bit. And I'm just sauteing them in that butter. It gives off a nutty kind of warm smell. And I'm just going to keep moving it because I don't want it to burn, but I do want to develop a little bit of brown on the bottom of my pot. So that way, because brown is flavor. I'm adding a little salt. And a little bit of pepper. Mix that in. And just keep it moving around so that way nothing burns, because it's really easy to forget if you just leave it there. It's really easy to forget and things burn really fast, faster than you expect, because all of that butter gets soaked up by the oatmeal. So then it's a really dry pan and you don't want anything to burn. So that's never a good flavor. So right now, just taking the time to saute this and develop a deeper nutty flavor from the oatmeal. I like using rubber spatulas because it's a lot easier on my pans, especially the non-stick pans that I have. Whenever you are cooking, if you can see, I already have my other saute pan that I need waiting for me. I've got all my ingredients put out because you don't want to have to stop and go grab anything or forget that you need to cut something up. And I'm just going to try to cook this in a risotto style, adding a little bit of chicken stock at a time. So here I'm just adding the chicken stock that I have. I used a low sodium chicken stock because the regular chicken stock has way too much sodium in it, way too much added salt, and I want to be able to flavor my food the way that I see fit. And it is extremely easy to over season if you already have added salt in your chicken stock. So keep that in mind when buying chicken stock. Buy the low sodium so that way you have control over the salt content. Here I have some Parmesan that I'm going to add just to give it. Also keep in mind that if you add Parmesan, this is also going to add more saltiness. So I have used unsalted butter, low sodium chicken stock, and I've added in the salt and pepper that I want. So you see how the liquid is starting to reduce. It's becoming kind of thick. I'm going to let that go for 5 minutes. Now I will say that by this point, it just felt so wrong. I was trying to prepare myself for this to be a savory dish and not sweet. I'm used to, by this time, smelling the sweetness of the sugars added and the fruits added. So that Parmesan is going to add in a little bit of a nutty flavor. It's going to give you that nice creaminess and a little bit of saltiness. Just mixing it around continuously because, again, I don't want anything to burn. Here we are. That liquid has started to reduce. It's getting thick again. So at this time, I'm going to add a little bit more. And alright, we are done with that. I'm going to switch to my next pan. I've got my leftover bolo here. And let it sit for a minute until we start to see some bubbles and it's nice and hot. Keep in mind this was already made, so I'm just reheating it. I'm going to add a little seasoning to it. Now we're going to add a little bit of this cilantro that I had just sitting around. So I figured I'd use up some of that before it went bad. Cilantro is a great addition to a lot of dishes just to add that extra pop of flavor. A lot of people wouldn't think to add this because it just, you don't typically think about cooking with it, but I absolutely adore cilantro, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to it, give it some nice flavor. I'm going to mix it around really good. I don't want to continue to cook it down. I want to keep that freshness of the cilantro. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my pan off. I'm going to mix around that cilantro that we added, make sure it's nice and incorporated and not in one spot. And now we are ready to start plating. Okay, now we have bubbles. Bubbles are good. Bubbles mean it's nice and hot. It's getting there. It's a good temperature that it's not too hot, but comfortable enough for us to eat it as soon as we plate it. So I'm going to grab a big spoon. I'm going to spoon in that oatmeal that we made. Couple of spoonfuls at a time. Make sure you don't make a mess. Spread that out just a little bit.
So this is actually not as bad as I expected it to be. This goes against everything that I ever thought oatmeal could be. I'm gonna take a bite in front of you guys just so you can see, like, it's actually pretty good.
So this savory oatmeal is not as bad as I thought it would be. I think a lot of it for me is the smell. Smelling oatmeal, I normally think it's going to taste sweet, and it doesn't, but it doesn't taste bad. It's not an overwhelming flavor that makes it bad. So it was good. Mine is bolo that we had made previously, so I figured that was a good way to repurpose. And I put it over the oatmeal that I just sauteed with some butter, salt, and pepper. And it worked out well. It wasn't bad, and I decided to top it with a little cilantro because I have random stuff in my refrigerator, and that's what I had, and it turned out really well. It's definitely a great alternative to regular pasta. Yeah, so it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I don't think I love mine as much as Lachelle loves hers. I would definitely prefer a sweet oatmeal over savory. So, yeah.